My name is Sophie Bennett. I'm 48, divorced, and I live alone in the house I've spent years making mine. I've built an interior design business from scratch, created beautiful spaces for strangers who trust me with their dreams, and I thought I understood what trust meant. Then my brother called me at 9 p.m. one Tuesday night. I was sitting in my car outside the grocery store, scrolling through my phone, when his name lit up the screen. He didn't call often anymore. We'd drifted apart over the years. Different lives, different cities. Sophie, he said, and his voice sounded shaky. Not crying, but embarrassed. Strained. Hey, Kyle. What's wrong? I need to ask you something. I'm behind on several bills. Medical stuff, utilities, the car payment. I need $6,500 to keep things from collapsing. My heart sank. I gripped the steering wheel. I wouldn't ask if I had anyone else, he continued. Something inside me caved. I agreed before he even finished explaining. I sent the money the next morning. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold, as I initiated the wire transfer. My hands trembled slightly as I typed in the amount. $6,500. Kyle texted me an hour later. Just a thumbs up emoji. That was it. No receipt. No breakdown of what the money was covering. No actual thank you. I stared at that emoji for a long time. It felt hollow. Casual. Like I'd just sent him a meme instead of a life-altering amount of money. That night, I lay awake replaying the conversation. He'd mentioned medical bills, utilities, a car payment. But he hadn't given me specifics. No dates. No amounts. No proof. I realized I didn't actually know what the money was for. Part of me wanted to call and ask. But another part, the part that didn't want to seem petty or untrusting, told me to let it go. So I decided not to ask. Not yet. 2 weeks passed. Life returned to normal on the surface. I worked on client projects, attended design consultations, tried not to think about the missing money. Then there was a family video call. My parents, my sister Natalie, Kyle, and me. We did this once a month, a tradition Mom insisted on to stay connected. During the call, I mentioned the loan casually. Not accusing. Just acknowledging it. I'm glad I could help Kyle out with those emergency bills, I said lightly. Kyle jumped in immediately. Too quickly. Yeah, that really saved us, he said, nodding at the screen. But the way he said it didn't match his face. His eyes shifted. His smile was tight. It was the expression of someone who'd been caught off guard, scrambling to remember a script. I noticed. And for the first time, I started paying attention. I saw the photo by accident 3 weeks after I'd sent the money. I was scrolling through Instagram late at night, unable to sleep. Kyle's post appeared in my feed. Not a brag. Not a celebration. Just casual. Effortless. A weekend getaway. Him and his wife at some lakeside resort. Drinks by the pool. Sunset views. And on his wrist, a watch I'd never seen before. Expensive looking. Silver with a black face. The caption read, "Much needed reset. Life's good." I stared at the photo. My stomach twisted into something colder than anger. It was sharper. Clearer. This wasn't about emergency bills. This was about convenience. My convenience. I closed the app. I didn't comment. I didn't confront him. I just sat there in the dark, feeling something shift inside me, and I decided I wouldn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I opened a notebook the next morning. A plain spiral-bound one I kept for project notes. I flipped to a fresh page and wrote the date I'd sent the money. I wrote the exact amount, $6,500. Then I wrote down everything Kyle had said that night: emergency bills, medical expenses, utilities, car payment. I underlined the words. I circled the date. For the first time in my life, I decided to let my brother talk himself into trouble. To give him enough rope and see what he did with it. I didn't reach out. I didn't ask questions. I just waited. And then, a week later, I sent him a text. Gentle. Curious. Hey Kyle, how are the bills going? Everything sorted out. His response came an hour later. Yeah, mostly. Still working on some stuff, but better now. Thanks again. Mostly. Still working on some stuff. Vague. Comfortable. Safe. I saved the screenshot. A week after that, I asked again, just as casually. Glad things are settling down. Which bills ended up being the worst? This time his answer was different. Oh, just the usual. Medical copays were brutal. Car stuff too. I compared his responses. Same crisis. New details. The first time he'd mentioned utilities. This time he didn't. The first time he'd said medical stuff. Now it was medical copays. Subtle shifts. Small changes. But enough to tell me he wasn't keeping track of his own story. I wrote it all down. Dates. Responses. Contradictions. I didn't call him out. I just kept collecting. And I realized something important. He didn't remember his own lie well enough to keep it consistent. A month after I'd sent the money, there was a family gathering at my parents' house. A birthday celebration for my mom. I stood in the kitchen, refilling the coffee pot, when I overheard Kyle's wife, Amanda, talking to my sister. We were so lucky Kyle's work gave him that bonus last month, Amanda said cheerfully. It came at the perfect time. I froze. My hand hovered over the coffee pot. Bonus. Last month. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. Natalie responded, "Oh, that's great. How much was it?" "4,000, Amanda said. Not huge, but enough to cover that trip we took. I stood there, staring at the coffee pot, my mind racing. The trip. The lakeside resort. The new watch. The math didn't add up. If he'd gotten a $4,000 bonus, why did he need $6,500 from me for emergency bills? I poured my coffee slowly, carefully, and walked back to the living room without saying a word. That night, I went home and pulled out my notebook again. I started building a timeline. Kyle called me for money on a Tuesday. I sent it Wednesday morning. 2 weeks later, he posted photos from a weekend trip. Amanda mentioned a bonus from last month. Last month meant he'd received it before he called me. I did the math. If he'd gotten $4,000 and I'd given him $6,500, that was over $10,000 in a single month. He hadn't stolen impulsively. He'd budgeted my money. Planned for it. Counted on it. This wasn't desperation. This was strategy. And for the first time, I stopped seeing my brother as careless or thoughtless. I started seeing him as calculated. I spent the next few days thinking about fear. Specifically, my fear of being the difficult sister. I'd spent my whole life smoothing things over. Avoiding conflict. Being the easy one. The one who didn't make waves or ask uncomfortable questions. That fear had shaped every relationship I had. My marriage. My friendships. My family. But sitting in my quiet house, looking at the timeline I'd built, I realized something. That fear was protecting him, not me. It was making his life easier while mine got smaller. And just like that, the fear dissolved. I picked up my phone and sent Kyle a text. "Hey, can we talk about a repayment plan for the loan? Just want to get something in writing so we're both clear." Simple. Direct. Calm. I hit send and waited. Kyle's response came 2 hours later. "Well, why? You'll get it back eventually. Don't stress yourself out about it." He laughed. Not cruelly. Not mockingly. Comfortably. Like the idea of me expecting my money back was amusing. Unnecessary. Almost cute. I read the message 3 times. "You'll get it back eventually. Don't stress yourself out." He wasn't taking me seriously. He thought this would blow over. That I'd back down the way I always had. But instead of hurt, I felt something sharper. Clearer. Clarity. I didn't respond right away. I just sat with that clarity, letting it settle into my bones. And then I got to work. I opened my email and my text messages. I started gathering everything. Screenshots of our conversations. Dates of transfers. Confirmation numbers from the wire. I created a folder on my laptop labeled Kyle Loan. I saved everything there. Organized. Dated. Documented. I didn't threaten him. I didn't announce what I was doing. I just prepared. And in the process, I learned something about myself. I was capable of being strategic too. I was capable of protecting myself without apology. For years, I believed that being kind meant being soft. That being generous meant being unlimited. But now I understood, Boundaries weren't cruelty. They were clarity. And I was done being unclear. A week later, I brought it up again at a family dinner. Not dramatically. Just factually. I'd like to set up a repayment schedule for the loan I gave Kyle. Nothing aggressive. Just monthly installments. My father looked uncomfortable. My mother frowned. Sophie, honey, Mom said gently. It's family. Maybe we should let it go for the sake of peace. Let it go. For peace. I'd heard that phrase my entire life. Let it go. Don't make a scene. Keep the peace. But whose peace? And at whose expense? I looked at my mother calmly. No. I'm not going to let it go. The room went completely quiet. My father cleared his throat. Kyle stared at his plate. Amanda looked at her hands. It's not about punishing anyone, I continued. It's about fairness. I loaned Kyle money and I expect it back. That's reasonable. No one argued. They just sat there, stunned that I'd said no. After that dinner, I sent Kyle a formal message. Not angry. Not emotional. Just clear. Kyle, I'm not going to lend you any more money, and I need you to start repaying what you owe. I'd like the full amount back by December 31st. Let me know if you need to set up a payment plan. I included the original loan amount, the date, and the transfer confirmation. Then I hit send. Kyle didn't respond for 3 days. When he finally did, his message was short. This is really unnecessary, Sophie. I didn't reply, and he stopped calling me altogether. 2 months passed. I didn't chase him. I didn't bring it up again. I just waited. And slowly, I started hearing things. From Natalie, Kyle's complaining about money being tight. From Amanda's social media, fewer posts. No more weekend trips. From my mother, Kyle mentioned they're cutting back on some things. Without my financial cushion, small things in his life started failing. Not catastrophes. Just friction. The kind of friction that happens when you're forced to live within your actual means. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt settled. And then, in early November, Kyle reached out again. His text was different this time. Softer. Almost pleading. Sophie, I know I screwed up. Can we talk? I need some time to get the money together, but I will. I just need patience. I read it carefully. He was asking for time. For patience. For family loyalty. I typed back slowly. I've already given you time and patience and loyalty. You've had the money for 4 months. I need a repayment plan in writing by the end of the week. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him. I just held the line. Kyle didn't respond. But 2 days later, I got a call from my father. Sophie, can you give Kyle a little grace? He's trying. Dad, I gave him $6,500. That was grace. Now I need my money back. My father sighed. You're being very hard on him. And he was very careless with me. We hung up. And I made my next move. I sent Kyle a formal repayment request. I didn't use legal language or threaten him. I just outlined the facts. Original loan, $6,500. Date sent. Purpose stated. Repayment terms. Monthly installments of $650 for 10 months, starting December 1st. I attached a simple contract. 2 signatures needed. Mine and his. This makes it easier for both of us, I wrote. Let me know if you want to adjust the timeline. Suddenly, everyone took it seriously. Kyle called me that night. His tone had changed completely. I'll sign it, he said quietly. I didn't realize you were this serious. I've been serious from the beginning, I replied. He signed. I signed. We both had copies. And for the first time in months, I felt like I had my power back. The first payment was due December 1st. It didn't come. Kyle texted me on December 3rd, can I push this to the 15th? Things are tight right now. I replied, the agreement says the 1st. If you can't make that work, we need to renegotiate the entire plan. He sent the payment on December 5th. Then, a week later, he started telling people I was obsessed with money. Natalie mentioned it casually. Kyle said you're being really rigid about this loan thing. I didn't defend myself. I just said, he can characterize it however he wants. The facts don't change. And I realized something. Accountability feels like humiliation to people who've never faced it. Kyle wasn't embarrassed about taking my money. He was embarrassed about having to give it back. Over the next few months, Kyle tried to flip the narrative. He hinted to family members that I was cold, unforgiving, obsessed with money. But the receipts spoke louder than his discomfort. People stopped defending him. Not because they were angry at him, but because they couldn't argue with facts. I had the dates, the transfer records, the signed agreement. Kyle had excuses. And slowly, the family dynamic shifted. I wasn't the difficult one anymore. I was the clear one. And Kyle was the one who'd broken trust. In February, Kyle sent me an email. It was longer than anything he'd written before. He proposed a structured repayment plan. Not generous, not fast, but real. $500 a month for 13 months. It wasn't what we'd originally agreed on, but it was close. And most importantly, it was in writing. I considered it. Then I replied, I'll agree to this plan with one condition. If you miss a payment, the full amount becomes due immediately. No extensions. He agreed. We signed a new contract. And the money started coming back. Each payment felt different. The first one felt like relief. The second felt like validation. By the fifth, it felt like reclaiming a part of myself I'd given away too easily. I didn't spend the money. I just moved it into a separate savings account. Watching it grow back felt powerful. Meanwhile, Kyle's life continued to tighten. Amanda got a part-time job. They sold their second car. Small changes that added up. Without my safety net, he was learning to manage on his own. And I realized I'd been enabling him for years without even knowing it. In June, something unexpected happened. Kyle called me for advice. Not money. Advice. Sophie, you're good with budgets and planning. Can you help me figure out how to cut expenses? For a moment, I almost said yes. Old habits. But then I stopped myself. Kyle, I think you need to figure that out on your own. There was a long pause. Seriously. You're capable. You'll figure it out. I hung up feeling strange. Not guilty. Just different. The power had shifted. And I wasn't interested in shifting it back. In August, Kyle missed a payment. He texted me immediately, Sophie, I'm so sorry. Car broke down. I'll have it by the end of the month. Please don't freak out. According to our agreement, the full balance was now due. I could have enforced it. Part of me wanted to. But I didn't want to be punitive. I just wanted to be clear. I replied, the agreement states that missing a payment makes the full balance due. I'm willing to extend 1 week. After that, I enforced the contract. He sent the payment 5 days later. And he never asked for leniency again. He understood I wouldn't bend. The final payment arrived in September. Almost exactly 1 year after the original loan. No apology attached. Just a transfer confirmation. I stared at my account balance. $6,500. Fully restored. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt complete. Kyle sent a short text. We're square. I replied, yes. That was it. No long conversation. No emotional closure. Just facts. A few weeks later, my mother asked me to co-sign a loan for Kyle. Something about refinancing his car. The old me would have agonized over it. Felt guilty. Worried about being selfish. The new me didn't hesitate. No, I said simply, Sophie, he really needs. I'm sure he does. But I'm not co-signing. No explanation. No justification. Just no. My mother looked surprised. Then she nodded slowly. Okay. And that was it. I hung up and felt lighter than I had in years. I didn't ruin my brother. I didn't expose him publicly. I didn't scream or shame or punish. I simply stopped rescuing a grown man who was perfectly capable of managing his own life. And he never recovered the version of me that made his life easy. Kyle and I don't talk much now. We're polite at family gatherings. Cordial. Distant. But I don't miss the closeness we used to have. Because that closeness was built on my silence and his comfort. I've learned something important. Real relationships can survive boundaries. Healthy people respect them. And the people who can't, they were never relating to you. They were using you. I'm 48 years old. I live alone in a house I've made mine. I design beautiful spaces for people who trust me. And I've finally designed a life where my trust isn't given away for free. Kyle took $6,500 from me for emergency bills that didn't exist. Weeks later, he was on Instagram flexing a lifestyle I'd funded. But in the end, I got more than my money back. I got myself back.